Hey guys, Luna here and welcome to a new video. Today's video is special. The thing is that I was thinking the other day, yes I think sometimes, have you ever been in the situation where your friends are talking about their favorite albums, their favorite artists, their favorite music, and you just can't fit in the conversation because you do not know shit about the history of music? The answer to that question is probably not, because no one actually sits around to talk about music, or no one that I know. But still, if the answer were to be yes, I had an idea. How about if I make a list of the albums I think that would work as an introduction to this little world of music albums? So I decided to make the video and I come prepared, guys. With that being said, let's go on with the video. I don't know if this video would be long or short. I think it will be pretty short. I'm not gonna get into detail on every single album. I'll just tell you why they're good and why you should listen to them, and we'll move on. So I think we'll be pretty short, but this is just like a bonus for the week. I'll try to upload one video every week, but this video will be like a gift for you guys. So yes. Many people don't remember, but Drake was kind of a big deal back in the early 2010s. He released a few mixtapes before this album, but this album was the thing that got him on the map and became a mainstream artist. It mixes rap music with R&B music, and I think that if you're gonna get into the hip-hop industry, this would be a really good album to start with. I think this album is amazing. You should definitely give it a try. If you really want to take a look at the best thing that Taylor has released, I believe that Folklore is more fit to be here. But because we're talking about commercial, a really family-friendly music, Red is the one I picked. This album is amazing. It's fun, it's accelerating, it's beautiful. It mixes pop rock music with country music. It has some acoustic tunes as well. This is just Taylor. Early Taylor at his best. I believe that this is one of the most entertaining albums, especially by Taylor's songwriting. She really does know how to tell a story, and this album is just a living proof of that. Definitely give it a try. I love it. It's good. Random Access Memories is the basic bitch of people who actually think they know about music. Many people put this album as the best thing that was released in the last decade, and absolutely not, but it's really close. The main focus on the album may be disco funk music, but the album uses his features really good to give that diversity to the tracks. For example, you get features like Julian Casablancas and Pharrell Williams giving their own energy to the track and transforming it into something completely different, and the result is just amazing. It's an amazing album. You should definitely give this one a try. Many people make the mistake of thinking that Billie, because she's fucking everywhere, is actually overrated. But no, she isn't. She is indeed one of the most talented females out there currently in the mainstream. And this album works as living proof of this statement. The album is so good. It's dark, it's beautiful, it's really quiet as well. The production is really good. Even though the album didn't have a massive budget, the result was really professional, really good, melodic, beautiful, dark. I love it. I think it's amazing. Not overrated at all, because this album is one of the greatest things to come out of the last decade. So yes. Now let's go on with part 2. Maybe you'll find this listens to be a little bit more challenging, but if you went through part 1, I think you'll get through part 2 with a lot of rewarding experiences from many of these albums. Is This It by The Strokes is probably one of the greatest albums ever made, and it's not really such a challenging lesson. So why is the album in the part 2 of the video? Basically because this album is fucking legendary. Everyone should listen to this album at least once in their lifetime. The performance by Julian Casablancas is just honest, raw. The instrumentals, the songwriting, everything about this album is just too timeless to ignore. This is a must. You have to listen to this album because it will change your life. Maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it's a really good album. Give it a listen. Let's tune it down for this album, because this is a really sad album that I believe everyone should listen to at least once, just for the experience and what the album tries to tell the audience. Because the album treats death from a really real perspective, and actually the artist who wrote the album takes the time to tell you how long has it been since his wife passed away. The process of him overcoming the loss of his wife and having to take care of his daughter all alone, it's an album that shows you how real death actually is, not the glory we see in the movies, the beautiful scenery in the movies. No, this is actually how death is. It's cold, it's quiet, and it's dark, and I think that this album paints that perfectly. Let's tune it up again for Arcade Fire's Funeral. If you were ever a teenager, and of course you have been, you're gonna feel this album in the flesh. This album is a letter to those who are young and want to go out into that world and fight their way through. The lyricism, the instrumentals, the vocal performance is just so honest. Everything in this album feels organic, feels like the artist who wrote it actually was feeling the lyrics and was saying it with pain and happiness and sadness in the voice. Few artists have the ability to filter their feelings through the song and through the music, and I think that's amazing, so you definitely have to listen to this album. Next, we have Fiona Apple's Fetch the Bolt Cutters, one of the greatest albums to come out in this present decade. I love this album way too much for my own good. Fiona Apple has always been an amazing artist, and her albums are just a masterpiece, every single one of them with a few exceptions. But this album is just the peak of her performance. Maybe not the peak of her songwriting skills. I believe that goes to a different album, but it's definitely the most well-performed album she has ever done. Not in terms of vocals and how high can she go. No, in terms of feeling, she portrays a really powerful character in every single one of the songs, but also a really vulnerable side that makes you feel related to her in some way. Every single song on this album, it's perfectly delivered. I think it's amazing. I love it. One of my favorite albums, if not my favorite, from 2020. I love this album. This album is 2 hours plus in length, but still really entertaining. Every single track is special. You can tell the amount of care they put into every single sound they put on this album. And the thing is that even though the music is really aggressive and really loud, that only works for the quiet moments of the album to be like shelter from the storm, to be really relaxing. You can drain every single feeling of violence or depression inside of you by listening to this type of music, because it allows you to express them. Maybe I'm getting a little bit too philosophical with this, but it's just how I feel every time I listen to this album. This album is amazing. Definitely give it a try. I know that 2 hours is kind of hard to sit through, but believe me, the reward is just amazing. I love this album. Cosmogram by Flyng Lotus, I'm not even gonna try to explain how this album sounds to you, because I couldn't. I wouldn't be able to. This album is just a mix of different sounds. It's like 3 songs in one. It all sounds so good, so beautiful, so organized. It's like chaos, but an organized chaos. That's the best way that I can describe it. This album is organized chaos. This is actually a little bit off topic, but this is actually my favorite album of the 2010s. Give it a try because you're not gonna regret it. This album is amazing. I fucking love it. Lingua, Ignota, Sinner, Get Ready is basically getting dragged to hell with a lot of grace. The way that she screams so sold out into the microphone, you can feel the rage. You can feel the fact that she's scared. You can feel every single thing that she's feeling at the time only by listening to the album. Something that this album did right that Caligula didn't was the fact that this album, other than the raw screams and the dark wave material you get on this album, it also gives you beautiful moments that are more beautiful than any other album you can put on the table. This album is nothing but a masterpiece. The best way that I can describe it so you kind of see what I'm referring to, it's almost like getting dragged to the ocean by a mermaid. You know that you're gonna die and you know that she's pulling you into darkness, but the grace, the beauty of the mermaid is such that you cannot help it. You just go along with it and you go along happy. The album is scary. You feel terrified most of the time. It has some jump scares actually, some really loud all of a sudden moments, but the beauty of it, the final thing, the result, the whole pack, it's just amazing and it's a masterpiece. I love it, I love it, I love it. Some people that have actually heard this album may say that this album isn't a challenging listen at all, but I disagree. 2 hours of instrumental music, 23 minutes, in one song without any vocals is kind of hard to sit through the first time. The musical passages on this album are larger than life, are beautiful, are grand, majestic. It's just so many different sounds packed together to create one singular sound that carries on throughout the whole song. But still, by the time you finish the album, you don't feel like it's been an hour and a half. You feel like it's been like 20 minutes because you don't want it to stop. That's the thing with this album. This is the only album that I felt like I don't want the album to stop. I want it to keep going. I want to keep listening to this beautiful music. This album is amazing, and it does it without any sort of lyricism. It does it only with the music, and the fact that an album that has such long tracks and every single one of the tracks have a similar concept to be so entertaining and so emotionally packed, I think it's amazing. I think it's a wonderful listen and one of the best albums ever made, period, point blank, period. Listen to this album and every single one of the albums that I've recommended today because I think that you'll have a great time listening to them, especially the Lingua Ignota album, really. I mean, that album is just too much for my body to take. That will be it for today's video, guys. I don't know, I think the video was actually quite long. I think that this video may be helpful for you. If it was, then why not leave a like on the video and leave a comment down below on what was your favorite album of the ones that I've talked about. Subscribe so you don't miss the videos that I upload, and I'll see you guys on the next time. Bye.